Hey everyone, how you doing today? This is Gilbert with Interactive Utopia, and I'm gonna be talking to you today about using the Meta Threads API via PHP to make a simple connection, log in, and get some basic user information. Okay, so once again, I'm Gilbert with Interactive Utopia. If you need any assistance with your projects, definitely please do let me know. You can go to interactiveutopia.com to learn a little bit more about me. This code is going to be on my GitHub, so if you go to github.com/Gilberto Cortez, you'll be able to find the code. I have a project called Threads, and that's where I'm going to be adding the different stages of this project, and you're going to see the files that we are currently going to be working on today. And of course, don't forget that all of this is possible because of the Meta Threads API. They have a dedicated documentation for all of this. This is just my way of coding it, of doing things. But definitely, if you're trying to learn a little bit more, make sure to go and check their documentation out, because that's where all of the information is going to be at. Okay. And I'll show you basically what we're going to be doing today. And again, it's just a simple login. We basically have a button, click on the button, a pop-up, a page should open. It's going to ask us to connect to the Threads account. We continue. It's going to get the tokens, and then it's going to redirect us back, giving us basically, the user information. Okay. And we can always log out or do as needed. So I'm going to show you the code on how to do that. There's two files to this. One is going to be the front HTML where we have the button, and then it goes to the authorization page, and then we have a backend page that's going to be handling the tokens. So we start by again creating a page. All we're going to be doing is creating a button that it's going to allow the user to click it and then be able to get authorized. For that, we have to generate a URL for the button, for the user to click it. So basically, this code is all provided in the documentation, but it needs to go to this URL with this variable sent over to them, and that way it's gonna create the authorization window for the user. So basically, we're just creating the URL and making a function. When the user clicks it, then we're going to be opening this login URL which we just created. Okay. So for the login button, I'm using session to store the variables in this scenario via PHP. So the first thing we got to do is start the session on the server, and then I'm gonna be checking to see if there's an access token already set up, because if it is, then we're going to be displaying the user information. If it's not, then we need to basically get it. So we're going to skip this section, because if they do have the token, then basically we're going to be retrieving the information. But in our scenario, the user is not logged in, so all we're going to be doing is creating a button, giving it that function on the on-click event. That way, when the user clicks it, it's going to basically redirect to the URL for the authorization window. Okay, once the user approves your app in the authorization window, that it accepts it, then it's going to send it back to your token handler file, which is basically this one right here. Kind of added some notes on the top, for things to remember, but I'll kind of go over them quickly. So again, on this file, we're going to be getting short-term token, and then we're going to be changing that to a long-term token, and then redirecting the user back to the original page once everything taken care of. In my scenario, we're kind of doing a little bit of coding here, so debug is always on. Again, we're storing the variables on the server session, so we're starting the session on there. This is the information, the variables for your app, which I forgot to mention. On the front end, you do have to include them right here. So just kind of go over the code. You have to include the app ID and the redirect URL. In this scenario, again, we need the app ID, the app secret, and the redirect URL. This one should be the same as the one from your original page. When you're getting the app details, make sure that you're using the threads app ID and the threads app secret, if that makes sense, because there's two different ones. There's one like for Meta, like one app ID and the app secret, but that's not for the threads API. So if you go to this page right here, so if you go to the threads file, documentation, again, you should be able to get a little bit more information on that. But like if you go to this page right here, it kind of tells you how to get the information. When you go to the settings to include your redirect URL, you can get the app ID and the app secret for the threads API. So again, just make sure that you get that. Even if you go to the settings and I think it's advanced, it'll show the app ID on top, but you got to go more to the bottom to get the threads one. So just be careful on that one. If not, the app is not going to work. Again, in here we start checking to see if the user already has a temporary token. In our scenario, we don't have one, so we're going to go a little bit down. So if the user does not have temporary token, then we gotta make sure there's not an error when maybe the user declined, or maybe it didn't just worked out. So if we have an error, we gotta manage the error. If there's no code, then we gotta manage the scenario when there's not a code provided. Maybe it wasn't an error, maybe just, I don't know, if something was off and you didn't get any response back. So that's another scenario. And then if you do have a code, we put it on a variable, and what we're gonna do with that, we have to make a post call to the threads API, providing that code. So we provide or app ID, the URL for the redirect, the app secret, and then we're going to be providing that code that was given to us on that, on the URL, basically, because we get it via get. We send that via post, and it's going to give us a response back. On that response, it's where we're going to have the access token. But that's just a temporary token because it only works for 1 hour. So you get that access token, and then we're going to be just saving it onto the server session, and then we're going to the only thing we're going to be doing is just redirecting the user to that same page, because once the page opens up again, this is gonna kick in. So we are gonna have a temporary access token, and then what's gonna happen is we're gonna be sending that token via get to, again, the threads API. We're gonna be sending the app secret, your app secret, and then that temporary token, and it's gonna provide you back with the access token, the token type, and then it's like expires in time, so like how much time you have with it. So something that I like to do with there is I get basically the current time. I then get the difference between the current time and what the expiration time, and that's gonna give me the expiration date. Or I'm sorry, I'm gonna get the current time and then add the expiration time, and that's gonna give us the expiration time, and then we can use that with the date function to create an actual date when it expires. So we save that as well in our session, so that way if you have a user for a long time and they haven't logged out, or you store, like for an example, we use this to send messages on the app, so we kind of store the token for a little bit. So if the user hasn't logged out, then you have to make sure to check that the token hasn't expired at that point, because if it did, then it's not going to work and you're just going to get a bunch of errors. So it's always a good idea to do it ahead of time. That way you don't have to do it on every piece of code, if that makes sense. But once we have this, now we have our access token, now we have our token time, now we have the expiration date. So then we're going to send the user back to our original page. when we go on the original HTML page, then this section on top, it's gonna kick in because we are gonna have an access token. And in there, you can go ahead and display it to the user. Kind of here, I just added some prints for if you wanted to display to the user, or in this scenario, we're obtaining the basic user information. This is kind of what you can get from the Threads API. And with that, we just basically make the curl call. We sent over our access token, we request the fields that we want, and then it's gonna send us all that information back, and we can just print it out, or whichever way you want to work with it, or if you want to post, or whatever we want to do at that point. So this is just, again, a basic way of logging in the user to the Threads account via the authorization window using PHP. We're not using any frameworks or anything like that, and just obtaining the basic information. I'm going to be working in sending messages to the thread social network via the API. So I will be adding that code in the future, but hopefully this is going to help you if you're doing a project with this, and allow you to at least log in and get some basic information. And of course, we can always grow from there. Okay, so hopefully you like the information that I provided. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to send me a message or leave it on the comment box below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And yeah, I hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day.